Sciatica will never completely go away unless you take care of two important issues that cause the root problem of sciatica. In this video, I'm going to show you how these problems cause sciatica and how you can begin to fix them so you can get long-term relief of sciatic pain. The symptoms we're talking about here are basically numbness, tingling, cramping, pain, and even weakness that usually starts in the back of your hip and travels down your leg. So, why do we get sciatic nerve pain? Well, you have nerves that start in your brain and run all the way down your spinal cord. Those nerves exit your spinal cord at each level of your vertebrae. Now, one of the most important nerves in your lower body is the sciatic nerve. It's actually the longest and largest nerve in your body, and it runs from your lower back through your hips and your buttocks and down each leg. Now, not all sciatic pain has the same cause and so requires different treatment depending on what's causing your symptoms. I typically see three different causes of sciatica: a bulged or herniated disc, stenosis or degenerative disc, or piriformis syndrome of the piriformis muscle that actually pinches down on that nerve. All three types have slightly different symptoms, which we will go through. A bulging or herniated disc typically presents as pain down one leg, as opposed to both, and starts in the back or in your bum and can travel down your leg and sometimes all the way down to your foot. You can often feel some numbness or some tingling in places throughout your leg depending on which nerve is affected and how badly it's affected. I see a lot of sciatica caused by herniated disc in the age ranges of 30 to 50, and that is because they're still young and they still have a lot of water inside their discs. So at this age range, your discs are tall and plump, and when they suffer an injury to the disc, the inner material from the disc can push out the disc quite far, and that can push against the nerve. A lot of times standing upright and walking around is really helpful to these people. So if you find relief from this, there is a strong chance your sciatica is caused by a herniated disc. Now, as we get older, typically over the age of about 60 to 70, our discs become gradually thinner as they lose their water and become dehydrated. This is what we call a degenerative or a worn disc, and is a natural part of aging, and people end up with some stiffness around the disc due to this dehydration. As the disc becomes thinner, the gaps between the nerves become smaller, and this can lead to a nerve becoming pinched. The other thing that affects the older population is arthritis of the spine, and this can also lead to narrowing of the nerve space and can lead to the nerves becoming trapped. This is known as spinal stenosis. Now, the symptoms we're talking about here are pain when bending backwards. So standing up straight, bending over backwards often aggravates your pain both in your back and sciatica down your leg, and you can often feel relief by bending or folding forwards. Now, the way we treat spinal stenosis and degenerative disc is very different to how we would treat a bulging or herniated disc in someone who's much younger. So in this video, I'm going to show you some exercises specific to either a herniated disc or spinal stenosis. But first, let's discuss the two main root causes of sciatica and how to get long-term relief. In my experience, the majority of patients I see with sciatica lack glute and lower abdominal activation and control. So your glutes will help stabilize your pelvis and your lower abdominals will help stabilize your spine. And if your glutes and your lower abdominals aren't activated, it can cause instability, increasing your chances of suffering sciatica. If this isn't addressed, there is a high chance your symptoms will return. So the exercise we're going to do today, we're going to do a couple of pain relief exercises followed by a couple of strengthening exercises, which will hopefully maintain the improvement you've had from the first two and give you some long-term relief. So the first one we're going to do is sciatic gliding or sciatic flossing, depending on what you want to call it. So if you take your knee up to 90 degrees, keeping your head on the pillow, put your hands behind your knee, that's it, relax your head. And all I want you to do now is just straighten your leg, keeping your knee completely still, and just come to the end and just come off it ever so slightly. I then want you to just bring your toes to your head as far as you can and relax. So you're doing 1 second on, 1 second off. And I want you to repeat that 5 to 6 times. So what this is doing is just desensitizing that sciatic nerve, which will just gradually reduce your symptoms. If you find this is getting worse, you need to lay off that initial stretch. Okay, and now once you've done your 5 to 6, just come down, wait a good 10 seconds, and then repeat. The next exercise is for people who are suffering with a disc degeneration or a spinal stenosis. So your symptoms are that if you're really struggling to stand upright, and as soon as you try and stand up or arch back, you get that shooting pain. So the idea behind this exercise, rather than compressing, we're trying to open up your vertebrae to allow that sciatic nerve to just become a little bit freer. So start on all fours, and you can take this as deep as you like, but we're going to start off quite gentle and then we'll gradually progress. So all I want you to do is just start on all fours and just move your hips back, a couple of seconds, and forwards, and just rock forwards and backwards and gradually go lower and lower and lower until you find that you can get down to that child's pose position. So we go right the way down now, extend your arms forwards, and if you can tolerate it, holding that for a good 30 to 60 seconds, and you'll just hopefully feel that vertebrae open and give you some of that sciatic relief. The next exercise is for people who are suffering with a disc herniation. So you are currently getting pain when you bend forwards. So that means that you are compressing the front of your spine and that disc is shooting out the back. So this exercise is to basically push that pressure back into your spine. So we're going to compress here. So all I want you to do is lying on your front, I want you to come up onto your elbows and just lift your shoulders up. I want you to hold that for a good 10 to 20 seconds if you can tolerate it. If you can't, just go lower until you are comfortable. We do not want severe pain. Progression on from this, if you're comfortable holding that for a good 10 to 20 seconds, is to just come even higher. So come up, good, and just hold that. So a good 20 seconds with this hold again, and then relax. And I want you to repeat that 3-4 times. The next two exercises are for everybody, even if you have stenosis or a disc bulge. And we're going to focus on now activating your glutes. So your glutes are really important at stabilizing your pelvis. And if your pelvis is unstable, that potentially causes that pinch in your sciatic nerve, causing your symptoms. So I want you to start with lying on your back, knees bent for me, and the other one as well. And all I want you to do is just squeeze your buttocks together. So really squeeze them together. And I want you to hold that for a good 10 seconds. And the main aim for this is to make sure that your quads aren't working, your hamstrings aren't working, and only your glutes. And what you'll probably find is that if you're suffering with sciatica, you'll really struggle to do that without activating other muscles to compensate. So really squeeze it together for a good 10 seconds and then relax. So if you start doing that 10-second holds 10 times, you'll soon start making a difference. So a progression on from that is that if you now sit yourself up facing the camera, what I want you to do now is do exactly the same. So now just squeeze your bum cheeks together, hold for 10 seconds, and then relax. And once you become really quite good at this, you can then make this a little bit tougher. And I just want you to squeeze one bum cheek at a time. So doing 2 seconds on with your left, 2 seconds on with your right. So we're just firing it individually. And you will definitely notice if you have sciatica down one of your legs, that side will really struggle with this activation. So the final exercise, which is your second strengthening exercise, we're going to work on strengthening your lower abdominals. And this helps stabilize your spine. And when it works well with your glutes, you are much more stable, and this will give you the long-term relief that we're looking for. So lying on your back with your knees bent, what I want you to do now is tilt your pelvis backwards, or posteriorly tilt the pelvis is what we call it. And so what I mean by that is if I pop my hand underneath your back, you are basically going to just tilt your pelvis back and squash my hand against the bed. And I want you to hold that at the moment for about 5 seconds and then relax. And the main thing I want you to think about, so if you go again, is that we're not firing the top of your abdominals, we're firing right low down. And it's often the muscles that when you need a wee, they're the muscles that hold it to stop you from wetting yourself, okay? So think of it like that. And so if you relax, so then if you just come under, hold that for 5 seconds. And if that's too easy, progress that up to 10 seconds. So 10-second holds, 10 times. So those are the exercises to help reduce your sciatic pain. I hope you found them useful. A common complaint I see in my clinic with the over 50s is that if you're suffering with sciatica and back pain, you'll most likely suffer with hip pain as well. They are often treated together as your hips and lower back work in tandem. So if you are struggling with hip pain and stiffness and want to reduce this instantly, make sure you click on the video and check it out.